give us an overview of who does DPDP impact in the first place? Does it impact all kinds of companies, and who should be worried about it?
The Digital Personal Data Protection Act, as the name suggests, is a law in India which aims to protect the personal data of individuals in India. So the question of to whom does this law apply? The answer to that would be, in one part, the law applies to all companies operating in India. It will also apply to companies that are outside India when they are using personal data of individuals in India in connection with any activity relating to offering goods or services to the individuals in India. So the territorial scope is in India. It also extends outside India when data of Indian individuals is being processed.
So Akshay, if a company were to get started on this journey and they haven't done anything related to compliance prior to this, and now they're looking at DPDP and they fall under the realm of this act, what do you think would be a good starting point for companies like that?
The starting point should be mapping the data internally. You first need to collect data about what personal data you have. So draw up a map or have a record of what categories of personal data you're collecting, how are you collecting it, for what purpose, is it being used for that purpose, where are you storing it, how long are you retaining it, how are you protecting it, whom are you sharing it with, so on and so forth. That will give you a picture internally of what you are doing. Once that picture is there, you can then go on to map the compliance requirements. So the compliance requirements need to be contextualized to the kind of personal data you process, to the kind of company you are, and the kind of individuals you're collecting data from. So the next step after having this data mapping done would be to map the compliance requirements and then do a gap assessment and put a plan in place to fill those gaps.
Understood. And you mentioned creating a map, as well as I think recording all the processing activities that the company is currently performing, which again is a reasonably, I would say, common requirement of most privacy regulations across the world. So do you think that a good starting point now, given that complete clarity about the implementation timelines of the act are awaited, do you think a good starting point would be to look at any privacy regulation across the globe and try and comply with that regulation to begin with, and attend to the adjustments or additional requirements of DPDP Act later point?
Yes, that can be a good approach. In any case, companies should start putting together these processing records or data mapping, because you're not going to have that much time as GDPR gave or some other acts gave, and you don't really need to wait for anything to start this activity. So irrespective, start with that. And if you planning to put in place framework for GDPR or CCPR or some other legislation, that's a good starting point.
That's very interesting, and I'm glad we covered that. Just to again probably draw parallel with the GDPR law, if I understand it correctly, it also applies not just to Europeans who are domiciled in Europe, but also to Europeans who are living elsewhere, citizens of Europe living elsewhere. Does the DPDP Act also cover that? Like, is it Indian citizens living anywhere in the world, or is it Indian citizens living in India?
So the Act does not go into that much detail, and we need to wait for judicial precedents to see how it is being interpreted. The simple interpretation will be anyone within the geography of India, any individual within the geography of India is protected under the Digital Personal Data Protection Act. It would ideally also extend to diplomats and certain categories of individuals, but whether it would extend to citizens anywhere, even if they are not ordinarily resident in India, is something we need to wait for judicial precedents